Welcome back. In this part we are going to work on the backend for the game screen. So let's start. Let's open our CS file. Okay, as always we start working with variables. First of all, I'm going to decrease the total number of days by 5 to make our game a bit more interesting by making it a lot harder. In addition, let's rename our variables. So instead of just days, let's rename it to total days. And let's give it a summary by typing 3 slashes. And here we type the number of days in the game. The game balance should rely on this number, cannot be negative. So it's similar to the one we used in our pet selection screen. Now let's rename our other variables. So as I said, private members will have the M prefix. In addition, let's not use abbreviations. So current day, okay. Happiness, rename it to M happiness. Again, we have abbreviation here. We don't want to do that. So M happiness bonus. Good. Hunger, rename it to M hunger. Hunger modifier to M hunger modifier. Money to M money. And free hour to M free hours. Also, let's give it summary as well. So int 3 forward slashes. The number of free hours available cannot be negative. Let's move on. Rename wins to M wins. Rename happiness for walk to M happiness for walk. Now let's move prices below. So let's move price bone to the first place and put a comma here. Remove comma here, rename it to M price bone, price toy, rename it to M price toy. Price food 2 is the price for fruits, so let's rename it to M price fruits. And also we need the price for vegetables, so M price vegetables equals 10. Now let's separate these. Rename big bone to M big bone purchased to make it more descriptive. And let's give it a summary as well. Indicates whether item big bone was purchased. Good. Now rename pet name to M pet name. Rename S1 to M comments. Also we have a lot of text here and ideally it is not stored in code, but we will do so for some time. So let's leave a to-do here. Place in a database or a resource file, resx file. Good. Now, actually we can break these into separate lines. Okay, so I have broken it into separate lines, and in addition I added 3 more comments. Don't worry, you don't have to retype them. You can just visit my GitHub repository and get it from there. So let's move on. Rename daily comments to M daily comments enabled. And we will also need a new private variable. So private media player, and call it media player equals new media player. Okay, so we are done with our variables. Let's collapse this region and open our loading region. In our constructor we accept a lot of parameters. We will substitute all of them or almost all of them by a class, but not today. Right now let's just rename this parameter from description to description pet. This variable stands for the description of a pet, because we have another variable which stands for description of the chosen age. Also, let's open our constructor. Let's move it up here. And also, let's start using all of these parameters. So, text block pet, text equals pet. Then text block age, text equals age. And text block description age, text equals description age. Now we also need to enable the music if we need to, and just to let you know, I added the third music file to our debug folder called Rainbow Forest. You can download it from my GitHub repository. So let's continue. First we access our media player and specifically its open method. Here we specify the URI, so new URI, in which we pass the path, so string format. Here we will specify the folder and here we specify the file name, so Rainbow Forest MP3, and instead of this argument we will pass app domain, current domain and base directory. Then we add an event for media player called media ended, so plus equals new event handler, and we will call it media ended. We'll create it a bit later, and so we check if setting of type bool music, so bool settings default music. If it is true, so if music is enabled, then we access our media player and call its play method. Also we want to show buttons for items that can be afforded, so let's leave a comment, show buttons to buy items that can be afforded, and we will call here method that does not exist yet. We will call it check items availability. So first we will create the media ended event, so press Ctrl dot and select generate method user control game media ended, and you get it here. So we check if music is enabled, then we position our media player to time span 0, added to the start. Okay, now in our user control loaded event, after we write daily comments, we need to say what is the day today. So text block day text equals string format, and here we will pass two arguments, 0 out of 1, idest current day out of m total days. Here we need to remove the unnecessary text, so hard colon, honge colon, dollar colon and 3 hours colon. Also we don't need to change the content of daily choice 3 because it has different formatting applied to it already. Let me just show you. Visibility visible, so we have different colors and icons here, so we just need to remove this line. So we are done with the loading stuff. As you remember, we removed upper buttons from here and substitute it with a menu button. So we will rename the region upper buttons to menu. In addition, we don't need this event anymore because we don't have that button. Instead, we will just use this method, and we need to change this method a bit. So first we stop our media player, and also we need to change the content of parent instead of the user control. So parent as window. Also, we have an event click when we press the menu button. It's called show menu. We will try to replicate the blur effect that we have when we press the options button in our main menu. So first we change opacity to 0.4, then we add blur effect equals new blur effect, press Ctrl dot and include use and system Windows media effects. Then we will create a new window for menu, which can be accessed while we are playing. So add a new window. Let's call it window menu. We will not work with it in this part, so let's move it to the folder Windows. Also, because we will access this window right during the game process, and this window will be able to change the settings or redirect us to other user controls, we need to accept commands from this window to the user control game. So for this purpose, press F7 to go code behind, and we will just create a public variable here called public string command. That's it for now, you can close it. So after we decrease the opacity and add blur effect, we create an instance of window menu, let's call it just W, and initialize it. And right during the initialization, we can set some of its properties. So let's set the owner to be the parent of this user control as window, and we also want it to hide in taskbar, so set show in taskbar equals false. So in order to show this window, we just call the show dialog method, but in order to accept commands, we will need to check. So if w show dialog, and you see it returns bool. So we check if its returned value equals false, then we try to process its command. So we create a local variable here called command as well, and assign it to the value of the command variable of the window menu. So this is the result that was received from the window. After we have done it, we can restore the opacity, so set opacity to 1, reset the effect, so set this effect equals null, also access parent as window and access its show in taskbar property and set it to true. So in that window menu, we will be able to turn on and off the music. So we will check if bool settings default music equals false, we stop the media player. Else, if it is true, we position our media player to time span 0 and call the play method of our media player. In addition to changing music, we need to check what was the command. So if we pressed the restart button in our menu, so if command double equals restart, then call the restart game method. Otherwise, so else if command equals main menu, so if we pressed the main menu button, we stop the media player, and we also set the content of our parent, so parent as window dot content equals new user control main menu. So we will make a transition in this case. Else, so if the command was not restart and not main menu, then we will do something else. However, I cannot think of any more commands now, so let's just leave it empty for now. So we are done with the show menu event. We don't need the main menu and button exit click events anymore, so let's just remove them. So we are done with the menu region. Let's collapse it and let's open the button next click event. So when we click the next button, we check what daily choice was made. And we do unnecessary checks here, because if any of them works, we don't need to check the next ones. So instead of ifs, add else if here and here. Also, as you remember, we added a new condition for daily choice 3, and that is we need to have at least 2 free hours. So m free hours greater or equals 2. And if we do make the third choice, we need to subtract the number of free hours by 2. So these are all changes we had to make here. Now let's open our play method. We again have redundant text here, so let's remove it here, 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 and here. Now, it shows an error because previously we used string concatenation. So when you use string and plus, it automatically calls the toString on all other values. But when you have only non-string values, you have to explicitly convert them by using toString method. So let's add it to all of our variables here. And also, as you remember, we added a progress bar to show the current day and the total number of days. So we called it pb days. So in order to change its value, access pb days value property. As you see, it is double, so we will need to convert the value to double type, and we access the current day and divide it by m total days. Then we need to multiply it by 100, and that's it. So this will only fill this progress bar, but it will not change this text. So this text block is called tblc day. So let's access it, specifically its text property, and set it to string format. And here we do something similar to what we did in the constructor. So 0 out of 1. I just m current day out of m total days. Also, when we are lucky and get the third choice, let's first check if we have the sufficient amount of free hours. So if m free hours is actually less than 2, we set daily choice 3 is enabled property to be false. So if we are lucky and we can see the choice, but we don't have enough resources to select it, we won't be able to click on it at all. But if we do have at least 2 free hours, we set daily choice 3 is enabled property to be true. Now, after all these checks, so we check if the current day is greater than total days. If it is, we call the final method. If it isn't, we play as usual. And in any case, we will also call the check items availability method, which we will create later. So this method will just check the number of coins that we have and will hide or show buttons for buying the items according to the number of coins. So if we have 6 coins, we will not see this button and this button, but we will still see these 2 buttons. So let's finally create this method. Let's collapse the play method. So check items availability. It will be void, so it will not return any value. And we start by setting the visibility property of each button. So button by bone visibility equals, let's first duplicate these, 2, 3, and 4. So button by bone, then button by toy, then button by forage, and also button by fruit visibility equals visibility hidden. So first we hide all our buttons and then we check if m money is greater or equals m price bone. We set the visibility of button by bone to be visible. And we need to repeat this for every item. So if money is greater than the price of toy, then we show it, button by toy, then the price of vegetables and the price of fruits. If it's vegetables, then we need to access the forage button, and for fruits we access the button for fruits. Also, let's change our final method. After we hide the visibility button, we don't need to do this anymore, because as you remember, I told you that we will create a new window to show at the final stage instead of showing 2 text blocks here. So let's just remove it. Instead, we will show a new window. So again, decrease opacity to 0.4 and add blur effect. Then we need to create a new window again. This time we will call it window final and place it in Windows folder. You can close it. Then we create an instance of this window. So window final w equals new window final. And again, set its properties right during the initialization. So set the owner to be this parent as window and don't show it in test bar, so set it to false. Then you show this dialog and then you restore the opacity to 1 and nullify the effect property of this user control and show again it in taskbar. So parent as window, show in taskbar, set it to true, and then we will restart the game. So restart game. Now we need to pass the variable mHappiness into the constructor so that we could show it to the user in a separate window. So we will pass mHappiness, and as you see by default, let's go to definition. By default it does not accept any arguments, so let's add an argument here called int happiness. That's it. You can close it. We are done with the final method. Now let's deal with our buttons for items. So button by bone, we don't need the redundant text here, so remove this and this and this and call the toString method and use it here as well. Collapse it, open button by toy click event, remove the $colon and call toString method. Oh, and also after we set the text when we buy the item, we need to call the check items availability method, because we will lose some money, so some items will become unavailable for buying. So let's copy it and use here as well. Then button by forage click event. Instead of using a hard-coded value, let's use mPrice vegetables and use it here as well. Remove the $colon text here and call toString method instead and call check items availability method. Then finally open button by fruit click event, remove the redundant text here and here and here. Call the toString method and call toString method. Finally, call the check items availability method. Good. I think that's all for now. So let's check how the game works. I will play the game at least 2 times to use different combinations. So the first one will be default, Rex, puppy, 1 month. So we don't see buttons here because we have 1 coin. If we don't spend money, we start seeing the button. And if we click it, it's gone again. So let's move along. We have now 4 coins. we have the third choice, but we have only one free hour, so we cannot select this one, as you see. Let's move forward. We need to start saving some free hours. And we see the final window and the blur. Okay, now let's change the name to Cat2, change it to Kitty, and set it to 6 months. It has age effect, none, special +1 day, Kitty. And you see all of this here, 6 months, Kitty, +1 day, no age effect, okay, and its name Cat2. So if we start saving free hours from scratch, yeah, now we can select it because we have at least 2 free hours. So we have 10 coins, so we see the button. No, we don't. Okay. In the next part, we are going to create a menu that is going to be accessible while we are already in the process of playing the game. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to see more tutorials.